Ganon is the embodiment of evil in the Zelda franchise, and third part of the trifecta that forms the heart of the series. He is power, and must be counterbalanced and occasionally conquered by wisdom and courage, lest he brings the world out of balance to disastrous results. In his first appearance, though, none of this mythology really exists yet, and he is pretty clearly just meant to be a king of evil, a fairly generic demon king type character, and thus, in his NES incarnation, he fights with deception and magic against Link's heroic martial prowess, and his character design, well, the sprite is a bit basic, he's basically just a pig in a t-shirt, but the concept art shows him as a fairly generic evil high fantasy sorcerer king with a skull necklace and spikes and a demonic tusked pig's head, fully playing to a popular archetype of evil pig monsters in Japanese fantasy gaming at the time. This pig demon king Ganon sticks around through Link to the Past and shows up in spin-off games like the Game Boy games Four Swords and Link Between Worlds, gaining a trident as a reoccurring weapon. But in the mainline games, he is supplanted by Ganondorf as the main villain. It becomes more of a transformation that Ganondorf uses. Thus, in Ocarina of Time, he's much more of a distorted berserker chimera, with bull-like horns, a lizard's tail, a humanoid body, and a pig's head. And in both Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild, he is fully animalistic, an enormous charging boar beast, a primal and unthinking depiction of power and sheer rage, which is very much a contrast with the conniving, scheming sorcerer king that he started out as. Breath of the Wild, of course, also depicts him as the Calamity, a swirling dark cloud of malice, manifesting the head of a raging boar, an almost elemental embodiment of evil. Not an entity with a mind, but a kind of force of nature, as pitiless and inevitable as an earthquake or tsunami. In this form, he also mimics a disease, an infection that poisons the land and corrupts technology. And the spider-like form in which he fights his initial boss battle is a horrible, twisted parody of the Sheikah technology that was created to destroy him. There's an interesting progression in here, as the Zelda series slowly thinks more and more deeply about the karmic cycles of reincarnation that it is based on. Ganon becomes less and less of a personality. Motivations, wants, needs, ideology, all of these fall away in favor of the idea of evil as a force like gravity, an inevitable outcome of natural laws which can never be defeated, only cleaned up. It can be pulled out like weeds or drained like a swamp, but his defeat is not an act of triumph, simply maintenance of a balance that will always come undone again. Which is kind of bleak to think about. Hyrule is a land cursed by malice, the lingering hatred of the evil god Demise, a cycle of blood and violence, despair, and stagnation which will repeat forever. Except in the Wind Waker timeline, the only timeline that escapes the wheel of samsara.